Greetings, dear subscribers and casual listeners of my channel. Have you ever thought about whether the Dursleys were truly evil, or if the movies simply made them look that way? What if the truth about them was much more complicated, and they weren't the heartless monsters we've been led to believe? In today's video, you will find out what the films didn't show us about the Dursleys, and why their story might deserve a second look. Throughout the Harry Potter series, few characters were as despised as the Dursleys. The ordinary Muggle family that raised Harry was portrayed as cruel, petty, and even abusive. Thanks to the movies, they stood alongside villains like Dolores Umbridge and Draco Malfoy, despite committing far fewer actual crimes. I won't say they were perfect, but maybe they weren't as bad as we thought. It's time to set the record straight and uncover their real story, the one that was mostly left out of the films. So grab your favourite Muggle tea and let's dive in. The Dursleys before Harry Potter. Petunia Dursley was the older sister of Lily Potter, Harry's mother. As children they were close, but everything changed when Lily was revealed to be a witch and accepted into Hogwarts. Petunia dreamed of joining her sister in the magical world, even writing to Dumbledore begging for a chance to study magic. But she was a Muggle, and her wish was impossible. Over time, jealousy turned into resentment. She distanced herself from magic, left her childhood home, and married a man who shared her views. Vernon Dursley was an average Muggle, practical, ambitious, and deeply concerned with order and normalcy. He didn't just dislike magic, he feared and distrusted it. But he and Petunia still had to maintain some contact with Harry's parents. After all, they were family. At one fateful dinner, James Potter mocked Vernon for his mundane lifestyle, embarrassing him deeply. From that moment on, Vernon held a grudge, and unfortunately, he directed much of that resentment at Harry, who reminded him too much of his father. Their son, Dudley Dursley, grew up spoiled and entitled. Given everything he wanted and never disciplined, he became a bully. But as we'll see later, even Dudley wasn't beyond redemption. Why the Dursleys disliked Harry? Their mistreatment of Harry wasn't random. It had reasons, even if they weren't good ones. Petunia resented Harry because he represented everything she had once wished for but could never have. He was a wizard, just like her sister. He was kind, intelligent, and strong, qualities that made her own son look worse in comparison. And perhaps deep down she feared that his presence would bring danger to their home. Vernon disliked Harry because he was the spitting image of James Potter, the man who had humiliated him years ago. That bitterness never faded. And as for Dudley, he bullied Harry simply because he had never been taught otherwise. He was a child raised without boundaries, and hurting others made him feel powerful. Were the Dursleys truly evil? Despite everything, I wouldn't say they were outright villains. Here's why. The Dursleys tried to keep Harry away from the dangers of the magical world. When they desperately blocked his Hogwarts letters, maybe they weren't just being cruel. Maybe they genuinely thought they were protecting him from a world filled with dark wizards, Voldemort, and deadly spells. Over time, they showed moments of remorse. Petunia stopped Vernon from throwing Harry out after the Dementor attack. And in their final goodbye, she hesitated, as if she wanted to say something meaningful, but couldn't find the words. Even Dudley changed. He thanked Harry for saving him from the Dementors, and later, as an adult, kept in touch with him and Ginny. As we continue unraveling the story of the Dursleys, let's take a deeper look at the way their relationship with Harry evolved over time. When we first meet them in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, they are cold, dismissive, and openly hostile toward their nephew. They force him to live in a cupboard under the stairs, they deny him affection, and they favor Dudley in every possible way. It's easy to see them as nothing more than cruel guardians who hate Harry for no reason. But if we take a step back, we can see that their actions, while not justified, have explanations rooted in fear, resentment, and self-preservation. For 11 years, the Dursleys raised Harry under the belief that he was an ordinary boy. They deliberately suppressed any signs of magic, hoping that if they ignored it, it would disappear. They dressed him in Dudley's old clothes, kept him away from anything exciting, and made sure he felt small and insignificant. But the truth is, they weren't just trying to make him miserable. They were trying to erase the part of him that connected him to their worst fears. Petunia, despite all her resentment, knew the truth about the wizarding world. She knew about Voldemort, about the dangers Harry would one day face. Maybe, in her own way, she thought keeping him away from magic would protect him. Maybe she believed that if he grew up as an ordinary boy, he wouldn't have to live with the same fate that took her sister away. Vernon, on the other hand, didn't have that deeper understanding. To him, magic was unnatural, disruptive, and dangerous. He saw himself as the head of a normal family, and Harry was the one thing that threatened that. It's not surprising that his first instinct was to suppress it, to lock it away, to pretend it didn't exist. Then came the moment that shattered their carefully constructed world. The letters arrived, not just one, not just two, but an endless flood of invitations to Hogwarts. No matter how many Vernon tore up, no matter how far they ran, the letters kept coming. And for the first time, the Dursleys realized that they had no control over the situation. Hagrid's arrival was the final blow. With one swing of his massive umbrella, he exposed every secret they had tried to keep buried. He called out their mistreatment of Harry, their lies, their fear. And most of all, he revealed to Harry something the Dursleys never wanted him to know. He wasn't just different, he was special. From that moment on, their dynamic with Harry changed. They could no longer pretend that magic didn't exist, so instead they doubled down on their hatred. Each summer, when Harry returned from Hogwarts, they treated him with even more hostility than before. They saw his growing confidence, his increasing knowledge of magic, and it terrified them. The boy they once controlled was slipping away from them, and there was nothing they could do about it. But beneath their fear and resentment, there were cracks in their resolve. Petunia's knowledge of the magical world was deeper than she let on. She knew about Azkaban, about the Dementors, about Voldemort's return before most of the wizarding world did. She understood what it meant when Dumbledore sent a howler warning her to remember the last time she ignored a letter. And when she let slip the name Dementors in the Order of the Phoenix, she immediately clamped her hand over her mouth as if realizing she had revealed too much. Why did she keep these secrets for so long? Was it because she wanted to pretend she wasn't connected to that world? Or was it because, deep down, a part of her still cared? Even Vernon, as stubborn as he was, had moments of hesitation. When Dumbledore visited their home in The Half-Blood Prince, he was visibly uncomfortable but didn't lash out the way he once would have. Perhaps he realized that the situation was far beyond his control. Perhaps he was starting to accept that Harry was part of something bigger than their small, predictable lives. And then there was Dudley. The spoiled, arrogant boy who once delighted in tormenting Harry slowly began to change. It wasn't an instant transformation, but a gradual shift over the years. He saw Harry save him from the Dementors. He saw his parents' fear when Voldemort returned. And maybe, for the first time, he started to understand that Harry's life was more than just a strange inconvenience to their family. It was a fight for survival. The moment that solidified Dudley's change came in the Deathly Hallows, when the Dursleys were forced to leave their home for their own safety. Before they left, Dudley did something no one expected. He shook Harry's hand and thanked him for saving his life. It was an act of respect, of gratitude, of something close to an apology. Even Petunia hesitated. She turned to Harry as if she wanted to say something, but in the end she simply walked away. What would she have said if she had the courage? Would she have admitted that she missed her sister? That she regretted the way she treated Harry? That she wished things had been different? We'll never know for sure. But what we do know is that the Dursleys weren't as simple as they seemed. They were flawed, they were cruel at times, but they weren't purely evil, they were human. They were a family built on fear and resentment, but also on complicated, unspoken emotions. They made mistakes, many mistakes, but in the end, they weren't Voldemort, they weren't Bellatrix Lestrange, they weren't the true villains of this story. They were just people who let their fear dictate their actions for far too long. So were the Dursleys truly evil? Or were they simply victims of their own fears, their own past, their own inability to let go of the things that hurt them? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold stories from the wizarding world. Until next time, stay magical.